back to Mike Talk. Also, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Been seeing a lot of percentages, a lot of people unsubscribe. So please hit the like button, subscribe button on YouTube, Mike Flair channel, Corp Tech Media. Subscribe to both of those. Help us reach 1K. And getting right into it. Let's build a culture for our kids. Let's give the kids what we didn't have or some things we wish we could have done better and pass that down to our youth. And one thing that if I could go back and talk to that Mike in the multiverse, that Mike the Conqueror, I would tell him to really sit down and work on your thinking. Be a better thinker. Sometimes you got to really think about the possibilities of the different consequences you have to make that'll happen before you make that choice. Like if I go here, what could be the possible outcomes if I go here? If I go A, and what are the possible outcomes if I go to B? Or if we go C, what are the possible outcomes? A lot of times we'll do something and then think about, man, I should have done this, instead of thinking about it beforehand. Even if sometimes we get warning, we can say, nah, it ain't gonna happen to me. And you never really think about the different consequences of the outcome of the choice that you make. When you do that, you will see incremental change in how you do things in life. You'll actually start to slow down when you make choices. You'll start to slow down when you communicate or say things. You realize, like, what could possibly come from this. I know for me, I didn't have that kind of filter when I was younger. I could almost say anything to come to mind, and I didn't realize you can't operate like that 100% of the time if you want to be successful. Been working on it since I'm just turned 40, but in my 20s but early 30s, maybe even mid 30s, just had to learn how to think before I do stuff. I had to get better at it. Still working on it. I'm not perfect, but getting incrementally better as I go in life. What is your process of thinking when processing thoughts? Have you ever thought about that? What's your process? Do you think about, is this going to be good for me? Is this going to be bad for me? Is this going to set me back? Or is this going to push me forward? Do I gain from this or do I lose from this? Just like somebody saying, processing like your education. That's why I always say do something, don't do nothing. If you just work in your younger years and never invest time into your post-education or skill set, you're gonna end up losing down the road, because you're gonna find yourself trying to do other opportunities and you're not able to, either because your value and skill set is not valued in the marketplace, or you don't have the knowledge base to know what to do or what's that next step. Because you can say, I want to be an entrepreneur, but do you understand about the business side of it? Is it regulated what you want to do? Do you got to have a certain kinds of insurance? Where do you go get the insurance at? And then you have to maintain the insurance. Is it annually? Is it monthly? Payments? Am I going to be able to generate income monthly or annually, consistently? These are the things you have to think about from a reality standpoint, not from, I'm just going to start a business and it's just going to boom. You got to think about A, B, C, and D instead of just thinking about A. And my next one, sometimes you have to scale back your lifestyle to remain stable. This is something to think about. Just because, let's say if you're making 30 and you're stable enough to move and get by without putting yourself in a bind, and then you get blessed and you move it up, now you're making 50 or something like that, somewhere like I just say ballpark, you're making 50. Can you still stay scaled back to where you're living off 30? So when you start making 50, you can invest and do more things instead of just living up to 50,000 and now you're back to just enough to get by when you was making 30. That's what I mean by that. We have to be able to teach our youth that sometimes just because you're making 50, that don't mean you have to live up to 50 to show that you're making 50. Sometimes it's good to be scaled back and live off 40 and divest that 10,000 and be able to have something so if something happened, you can cover it instead of living check to check, making 50 and something catastrophic happened and you can't cover that. So learn how to scale back. Maybe you don't need those Jordans. Maybe you don't need the extra stuff for right now. Maybe scale back for a couple years and then get the extra after that. Sometimes you got to build the cake before you start putting the icing on it, or you will have more icing than you have cake. Then if you have more icing than you have cake, that's too much sugar. Just something to think about. Got an analogy for you. There are a percentage of people who get new cars to avoid maintenance. But if you understand how to maintenance a car or anything in life, you can extend the life of the vehicle or anything that you maintenance. And that goes back to what we talked about the scale back. If you buy a car and if you keep the oil change and tune up, a lot of newer cars now, you really don't have to tune them up as much because it's not like the old school V8s and before fuel injection. But if you keep oil change tune up and especially the coolant level probably be number one. That'll be the first thing to fail. Like coolant level, oil change, tune up, and tires. If you keep that up and monitor that, a lot of times the car lasts a long time. But if you just get a car and just drive it, never maintenance it, never change the oil, you just maybe change it just enough, you will have problems out of the vehicle. Now there's some vehicles who got bugs and stuff like that. You can't control that aspect, but if you get a good working car, keep the maintenance up, it'll last longer. And that's just like what you're thinking. If you learn how to properly think in life, maintenance your mind, maintenance your health, and keep your thinking in a proper direction, it'll last. You will last longer. Incrementally, you'll get better and better and better. And growing up in the inner city, I tell this to any youth, I had to learn this, is you have to allow yourself not to break mentally, especially if you do not have access to proper help. We talk about mental health, you hear about that a lot. And that is a thing, but the caveat to that is how many people can afford to even get therapy. Because you hear about therapy, you hear people talk about getting help, but a psychiatrist may cost anywhere between $50 to $100 an hour. And if you're only making you're making below 40, can you really afford therapy, mental therapy, to go see a psychiatrist and work those things out? I know when I made that much and it was only bringing, after taxes, bringing home $500-$600 after you pay your bills, and put gas in the car. I mean, you might not have that much left over. You might only can afford a couple of hours. So you have to learn how to be resilient in your thinking and in your mental, and not let the circumstances and situations around you break you mentally. So you have to learn how to fortify your mind, fortify yourself through God. I would say God, but some people have other means of doing that, whether it's reading or any kind of leisure activity. But you have to learn how to fortify yourself, because if you don't have the resources and access to get that help for your mental health, what really do you have to fortify yourself but you and your thoughts and your thinking? Your mind is a very important tool as a human in order to develop and gain. You can't expect somebody to give you something. You can't walk around feeling entitled. Nobody owes you anything. And when you kind of add that to your thought filter and work off of that and understand that I got to go get what I have, nothing's going to be given to me. You can start to incrementally grow and get better and better and better as time goes. This is Mike. I'm signing out. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Comment, let me know what you think, anything you'd like to hear me talk about. And I'm signing out.